What if everything you thought you knew about professional wrestling was about to shatter? Picture this: a world where grown men pretend to hate each other, where violence is choreographed but feels visceral, where millions of people choose to believe a lie because the lie is better than the truth. That's wrestling. For 100 years, it survived by protecting one sacred rule: never break the illusion. But now, Netflix is stepping into the ring. The same company that made you care about Formula One drivers you'd never heard of. That turned golf into appointment television. That convinced you a quarterback's anxiety mattered as much as his touchdown passes. Netflix doesn't just film sports. It weaponizes narrative. And it just locked eyes with wrestling as biggest secret. Wrestling is a sport pretending to be entertainment. It's entertainment pretending to be a sport. What happens when someone finally calls that bluff? Let's talk about what Netflix actually does. It doesn't make documentaries. It makes origin stories. Drive to Survive didn't explain racing. It made you pick a driver to root for before you ever watched a race. Suddenly, you weren't watching cars go in circles. You were watching Lewis Hamilton's legacy crumble under pressure from a younger rival. You were watching teen politics destroy friendships. You were watching egos, ambition, fear. Netflix found the drama hiding inside the helmet. Then they did it again. Quarterback, breakpoint, full swing, Beckham. Every single time. The formula works. Step 1. Find the human being inside the athlete. Step 2. Stretch their story across 8 hours instead of 8 minutes. Step 3. Make the audience fall in love with the struggle, not just the victory. Now look at wrestling. Wrestling already is a character-driven drama. It's designed for emotional investment. Every match is a 3-act story. Every feud is a season-long arc. So why does Netflix entering this space feel so dangerous? Because wrestling has always controlled the narrative. They decide who's the hero. They decide what you're allowed to know. They decide when the curtain rises and when it falls. Netflix doesn't ask for permission. They go backstage when the show's over. They film in hospitals. They catch wrestlers at their lowest. And suddenly, wrestling's greatest strength becomes its greatest vulnerability. Let me tell you about Kayfabe. It's a carny term, circus slang, a code. For decades, wrestlers lived by it like a religion. Never break character in public. Never be seen with your rival outside the arena. Protect the business at all costs. Fans played along because belief was the price of admission. But here's the thing about Kayfabe. It's been on life support for 20 years. The internet exposed the scripts. Social media destroyed the mystique. Podcasts turned wrestlers into confessional storytellers. Today's wrestling fan knows who's actually friends backstage, whose contract is expiring, which injuries are real, and which are storyline. And yet, they still show up. They still cheer. They still cry when their favorite loses. They still argue online about booking decisions. This is wrestling's beautiful contradiction. Everyone knows it's fake. Nobody cares. But Netflix? Netflix doesn't do half measures. They won't show you a wrestler staying in character during a backstage interview. They'll show you that same wrestler 2 hours later, icing his knee, texting his kids, wondering if this storyline is worth the pain. They'll show the promoter making a last-minute creative decision that kills a year-long build. They'll show the moment a wrestler realizes they're never getting the championship and has to smile through it anyway. This isn't breaking kayfabe. This is autopsying it. And once you see how the magic trick works, can you ever be fooled again? Here is the genius of what Netflix might pull off. Maybe you do need to be fooled. Maybe knowing the truth makes the performance even more impressive. When you watch a ballet, you know that dancers' feet are bleeding inside those shoes. Does that make the dance less beautiful? Or does it make it more beautiful? Because now you understand the cost. You know how weekly wrestling shows work. It's a non-stop treadmill. 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, a pay-per-view every month. Storylines have to move at lightning speed. Feuds burn incredibly hot and then just fizzle out. Character development? That gets squeezed into 90-second promos between commercial breaks. And long-term storytelling? You can pretty much forget about it. Someone gets injured, a contract runs out, or creative just changes their mind. The treadmill just keeps on running. Now, imagine Netflix's approach. One wrestler, 1 year, 8 episodes. In episode 1, you meet them. They're grinding it out on the independent scene, wrestling in front of maybe 200 people. They're sleeping in their car, just wondering if they'll ever get that big call. You know, there's a wrestler out there right now. You don't know his name, but you've probably seen his face. He's the guy who takes the finishing move in the opening match, the one who makes the established star look amazing. He's the one driving 6 hours to the next town for $150. By episode 4, the call finally comes. But it's not the dream they imagined. They're brought in as a jobber enhancement talent. Their entire job is to make other people look good. Then, episode 6, an injury, a real one. Then suddenly, they're not sure if their body can take this anymore. They're 32 years old, and their knees sound like gravel grinding together. What's the backup plan when your body is your only tool? Finally, episode 8, the moment. It's finally here. They get a real storyline, a real push from the company. You hear the crowd, and they're actually chanting their name. After watching this, you didn't just watch wrestling. You lived a career. So now, when that wrestler walks to the ring on Monday Night Raw, every single step matters. Every move they make has a history. Every win feels earned, and every loss feels absolutely devastating. This is what Netflix does better than anyone else. Context is king. Wrestling has always had incredible athletes. But Netflix would give them something they've never truly had, the space to be human. And humans are always more interesting than superheroes. And here's where it gets really interesting. Netflix wouldn't just change how the stories are told. It would change who has the power. Right now, the big wrestling promotions control everything. Who gets TV time, who gets a push, who becomes a star. But what happens when Netflix makes someone famous? Suddenly, an independent wrestler that nobody had ever heard of has 40 million people watching their life story. They didn't need WEAZ. They didn't need AEW. They just needed 8 episodes of compelling television. And now, WWE and AE are suddenly competing for talent that Netflix created. The entire power dynamic just flipped on its head. Of course, Netflix doesn't always get it right. Sometimes it manufactures drama where there isn't any. Sometimes it edits reality into something much cleaner and simpler than it ever was. But even imperfect disruption is still disruption. Just look at what happened to Formula One. Before Drive to Survive, it was a niche European sport. After Drive to Survive, races are selling out in America. Young fans are flooding the sport. The drivers have become global celebrities. Netflix didn't just promote F1, it resurrected it. Now imagine that same effect happening to Mexican lucha libre, or Japanese strong style, or British technical wrestling, or the American independent circuits. Netflix is global. One documentary doesn't just air in one country. It drops in 190 countries simultaneously. A wrestler in Mexico City could wake up with a new fan base in Tokyo. An indie darling from England could hear American crowds chanting their name. Wrestling has always claimed to be global. Netflix would actually make it global. And once that door opens, Amazon wants in. Apple wants in. Disney Plus wants in. We're not just talking about wrestling getting a documentary. We're talking about wrestling becoming a battleground for the streaming wars. And when tech giants start bidding for content, everybody gets paid. So where does this all lead? Well, total transparency would probably kill wrestling. If you see everything that happens backstage, the magic dies. But total illusion is already dead. The fans are too smart, and the internet will never forget. The future isn't one or the other. The future is a fusion of both. Imagine a wrestling world where Netflix shows you the real tension between two wrestlers. Maybe they have different philosophies about the business. Maybe there's legitimate creative frustration. Maybe there's genuine respect mixed with intense competition. Then, that real tension becomes the storyline. The match itself isn't fake. The emotions driving it are completely real. You're not watching two actors pretend to fight. You're watching two performers use choreography to settle a genuine conflict. The work and the shoot merge together. This is wrestling finally becoming comfortable in its own skin, not pretending to be MMA, not hiding behind pure theater, but existing as its own unique art form, competitive storytelling, athletes performing a narrative. And you know what? That might be the most honest wrestling has ever been. So, is Netflix about to revolutionize professional wrestling? Here's what we know for certain. Every sport that Netflix touches changes. Audiences grow. The stories deepen. The performers become icons. Wrestling has survived every evolution thrown at it. Television in the 1950s, cable in the 1980s, the internet in the 2000s, and social media in the 2010s. Each time, wrestling adapted. Each time, it got bigger. Netflix isn't a threat. It's the next evolution. And this time, wrestling doesn't have to choose between truth and illusion. It gets to be both, the most fake sport in the world, becoming the most honest. Once that shift happens, there's no going back. Wrestling will never be the same. And honestly, that's exactly what it means. Whether you want it or not, wrestling's next chapter is being written right now. The only question is, do you want to understand it or just watch it happen? If you're choosing to understand, hit subscribe and drop a comment. Team Kayfabe or Team Transparency? Because this conversation is just getting started.